Welcome back, everybody, on this Monday morning. Joining us is Emily Estes. She's a dietitian with Sage Nutrition, and we're talking eating disorders. And first of all, welcome, Emily.
Thank you.
We know that coming up at the end of this month, I believe, it's Eating Disorders National. I'm sorry, eating. Let me start this over. National Eating Disorders Awareness Week.
Yes.
I got it right. All right.
Yes.
I'll give myself applause here. That's a long one. But this is a very, very, very serious issue. We were saying off camera. I have school kids, junior high, and I ask my kids sometimes, you know, especially in the lunchroom, you look around, you see kids just not eating their food or not. Or some, believe it or not, they tell me sometimes they know some kids who don't eat anything at lunch.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if there's an issue there, but what's going on there? Is there a major problem that you're seeing among young people, older people, when it comes to eating?
Yeah, I mean, eating disorders don't discriminate. So we certainly see it in kiddos as young as 7, 8 years old.
7 or 8?
And younger.
Wow.
But I also work with elderly individuals, so 80s, 90-year-olds are still struggling. But certainly that middle school, high school, there's a lot of change happening. There's a lot of pressure from our society, from our peers to look a certain way, to act a certain way.
Of course, this has been the way for decades, though, right?
Right, yeah.
So, the message has been, our experts have been trying to get the message out, right? Eat healthy, eat right. Is it getting through?
I think we're almost taking that too far, where there's so much of a focus on health and wellness that it's so much pressure for people that it ends up leading us towards individuals participating in diets. And over 79% of people who are engaging in diets actually report using food as a means of coping with the pressure and the stigma associated with their weight or their size or just that restriction of food within the diet. So really this focus on health is great. Like, we want people to be healthy, but I think sometimes it gets to be too much for people and we end up going more towards a disordered relationship with food. So that's where the dietitians kind of come into play of working with those individuals.
All right, so I'm not an expert. My wife isn't, you know. How can you when you see your kid, or maybe you see your kid's friend or whatever,
Yeah.
how do you know if they have a problem or not?
So I think, like you said earlier, just noticing that your kid's friends, not eating at lunch, starting to have behaviors around food of either restricting certain things, maybe picking at food, not wanting to go to social events that are around food. Being really focused on their weight or their size and talking about that a lot. So those can be kind of red flags that we start to ask, what's really going on? Because generally it's not about the food. So it's something emotional. A lot of times we see anxiety, depression, PTSD going along with this. And so we want to be looking at, is there bullying happening in the school? Or, that happens amongst us as adults too with our peers. So what is happening emotionally that's causing us to either turn to or away from food as a means of coping?
And I was mistaken thinking it's just something kids and young people deal with, but I was surprised when you said middle-aged and even older people, even into their 80s and 90s, potentially have eating disorders.
Kind of using that food as a means of coping with whatever they're going through. So a lot of times, we talk about trauma, big T, little t trauma, and we have to find a way of coping with that. And so oftentimes we think our body and the food that we put into our body is something that we can control. And so we talk a lot about control in our office in relationship to food and other issues.
Well, that's just a general overview. We thank you for coming in. If anyone watching right now wants more help, they can contact Sage Nutrition, right?
We'd be happy to help.
What's your website? Or?
If you go to sagenutrition.org, we'd be happy. You can fill out our contact information there and we'll reach back out to you.
Okay, Sage, S-A-G-E, sagenutrition.org. Easy as that. Thanks for coming in, Emily.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay.